If you start disappearing in your headphones, you can't hear yourself in here anymore either.
If I disappear in my headphones, you brought some really good weed.
Yeah. Welcome to the edge of nowhere. Games at the edges of what we know. Monster Lore Tour Podcast. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Side Trail 81 of the Monster Lore Tour Paranormal Deep Dives from the Edge of Nowhere Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Carr, here with my co-host and the guy who is in my head. He's in my head. The Moz. How we doing, Moz?
There's a lot of room in here.
What just happened? I smell toast.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, if I gotta live somewhere, might as well have all the space.
Yeah, it echoes in the cave a little bit. Nice. It's very nice for a hermit cave, though. I will give you that. Much nicer than the one I used to have.
Yep, the Germalism.
Yeah, when I got a dog, I had to move to a place with a door.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a step back for us wizards, but you know what are you going to do? She's a good dog.
Wizard.
She's a good dog.
You are the Don Shimoto of the group. I got to give you that.
Fair enough. Well, that's just because I'm just a collection of figments of all your guys' imaginations.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
Why didn't we do something better with that? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're here to talk about William S. Burroughs some more, is what you said in the episode, right?
That's going to kick us off, yeah. Basically, you handed me the Electronic Revolution. I read it, and I thought, holy cow, this is so Wetiko-y and Wetiko-esque, and it became too big of a segment to discuss already. That's probably going to be, by the time we edit it, close to another 2-hour Moz extravaganza.
That's a monster of a monster episode.
Yeah, so and it was a lot of fun, but this side trail needed to be kind of pulled out and kind of discussed kind of in a separate lens here, and I wanted to do that tonight. And I'm going to start with kind of a montage from William S. Burroughs' 1970 Electronic Revolution, and then we can discuss. So this is going to be... Oh,
like a quote mashup?
Yeah, quote mashup.
Oh, cool.
Kind of get you the overview of what he's talking about, and then you can...
Love it.
You can say what I missed and what it meant to you. And
this is going to get weird.
Exactly. Before it gets weirder.
It wasn't what I was expecting. I will lead with that, but we'll let you do your thing, and then we'll talk about it.
Yep. So this is from, again, that montage of William S. Burroughs. In the beginning of written history, it is generally assumed that the spoken word came before the written word. I suggest that the spoken word, as we know it, came after the written word. It is doubtful if the spoken word would have evolved beyond the animal stage without the written word. The written word is inferential in human speech. The word leg has no pictorial resemblance to a leg. It refers to the spoken word leg. So we may forget that a written word is an image and that written words are images in sequence give us an immediate working definition for spoken words. Spoken words are verbal units that refer to this pictorial sequence recaptured. Then he goes on to say, and I may add that the environment necessary for any cellular structure they could parasitize to survive is the virus, then simply a time bomb left on this planet to be activated by remote control, an extermination program in fact. In its path from full virulence to its ultimate goal of symbiosis, will any human creature survive as the white race, which would seem to be more under virus control than the black, yellow, and brown races, given any indication of workable symbiosis? Dr. Kurt Unruh von Steinplatz has put forward an interesting theory as to the origins and history of this word virus. He postulates that the word was a virus of what he calls biologic mutation, affecting a biologic change in its host, which was then genetically conveyed. One reason that apes can't talk is because the structure of their inner throats is simply not designed to formulate words. He postulated that alteration in inner throat structure were occasioned by a virus illness and not on occasion. This illness may well have had a high rate of mortality, but some female apes must have survived to give birth to their Wunderkinder. This leads us to the supposition that the word virus assumed a specifically malignant and lethal form in the white race, what then accounts for this special malignancy, the white word virus, most likely a virus mutation occasioned by radioactivity. This makes you think of the Mahabharata, back to ancient alien theory.
Yeah.
And such a virus might well violate the ancient covenant of symbiosis, the benign equilibrium of the host cell. Reactive mind phrases could serve the same purpose of rendering subjects more susceptible to virus attacks. It will be seen that scrambled speech already has many of the characteristics of virus. When the speech takes on an unscrambled, this occurs compulsively and against the will of the subject. A virus must remind you of its presence. Whether it is the mag of a cold sore or the torturing spasms of rabies, the virus reminds you of its unwanted presence. Hear me is. I have frequently spoken of word and image as viruses, or as acting as viruses, and this is not an allegorical comparison. It will be seen that the falsification of syllabic Western languages are in point of fact actual virus mechanisms. The is of identity is in point of fact the virus mechanism. We can infer purpose from behavior, and the purpose to a virus is to survive at any expense to the host invaded. To be an animal is to be a body. To be an animal body that the virus can invade. To be animals, to be bodies. To be more animal bodies so that the virus can move from one body to another. To stay present as an animal body. To stay absent as an antibody or resistance to the body invasion. It's the end of the montage from William S. Burroughs.
Wow.
And, yeah, I mean, what did you have to add to that? Because you handed me the book. And
It was hard to find that book.
Yeah.
I had to dig on the internet to even find a copy of that I could buy.
Yeah.
The Electric Revolution by William S. Burroughs. It's very short
And sweet. And German the second half.
Right, and it's English and German.
Yep.
So
It's German.
yeah. But he wrote that pretty long time ago. You said 1970?
Yeah.
I thought it was even earlier than that. But yeah, it's getting up there.
Yeah.
We first went into this just to let you know where I'm at with this stuff, kind of catch up anybody who didn't hear it. This whole unrecognized virus of the word came up first in my panspermia episodes that I mentioned in the main episode attached to this one, in the Wetico. The whole thing is he thought language was a virus from outer space that came down and infected humanity and kind of separated us in its way from the rest of earthly nature that previously we were a part of. And in the panspermia, what made it interesting to me was in my whole viruses from space part, which is definitely a proven thing. Viruses are falling from space all the time. It's just a very small percentage of them actually turn into what we think of as, viruses, like something that's going to kill a bunch of people, start the next pandemic kind of thing. Those are extremely rare. But like right now, there's new kinds of viruses raining down from the sky over the place you are right now.
Yeah.
Odds are that you're never going to notice them. Once in a while you do. But in my research for the panspermia, I found that they have traced that the gene in our DNA that is apparently in control of what they think are the speech centers of our brain, the language centers of our brain. It's called the FOXP2 gene, which is a retroviral gene in our DNA that was put there by a virus at some point long, long ago. It ties together. Mm-hmm. Like it shows that he was maybe not as crazy as everybody thought and still probably thinks William S. Burroughs was.
Yeah.
He was a very crazy genius kind of guy. So that's where this all came from. That book, I thought it was going to be more of a dissertation on the theory. And you did a good job pulling out the stuff that is there, Moz. It was very well presented to the people who haven't experienced it yet. But mainly that book is kind of telling the CIA how to weaponize it for themselves. Yeah. And use the Wetico purposefully as like a weapon against the people.
Psychological warfare. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty messed up, man.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of makes, it made me think I had figured out why it was such a hard book to find.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to share that information.
Because they're using it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, no doubt.
Interesting stuff. But, so yeah, interesting read if you want to know more.
But back to the Wetico, to the tie-in, we talked about going back to where does this originate. We talked about the beginning of the ego, the beginning of the darker brother. We talked about the beginning of time. And then we also mentioned the beginning of language as the possible moment where this virus...
We split.
I
honestly, I have, in my follow-up research on this, because I did kind of become, I don't want to say obsessed, but it's like kind of become my favorite topic to just keep following, even if I'm not writing an episode about it kind of thing. I've come across a theory from different sources that this language virus, like William S. Burroughs said it, but I've seen it from some other people in a different way who I don't think even really realized they were talking about him. I wish I had specifics, but I didn't know I had to prepare that. But it is that language. It is that virus that separated us from nature, because there's this concept. I mean, this is very more philosophical and scientific. But there's this concept that all other animals on this planet that we interact with communicate in a far different way. They don't have the words. They transmit pictures to each other. They send sensory information in the form of smells and body language and just quick little sounds. But they also have this kind of, pseudo telepathic, maybe, like they can kind of give each other pictures in their minds, is actually a concept that a lot of people are starting to believe about animals in the way
and
they
communicate. Neanderthals, potentially, with Stanley
and Neanderthals.
Gooch, I believe.
You still haven't read Clan of the Cave Bear, huh?
No.
You really need to do that. But I see it as, if that's a correct theory as to how all the other life around us communicates, and we got a virus back in the day that changed the way we communicate with the world around us, that's what we're talking about here.
Oh, yeah.
I see that as, and when you communicate the way they do, you feel your connectedness with all things, because it is one thing, this planet. We are like the microbes in our guts. The microbes in your guts are to you as we are to the earth. It's variance in scale all the way up and down. I'm going to get into this a lot more in some coming episodes when I get back into the microcosm myself with my mycelium stuff.
But anything that makes you take that big step away from that is dualism and problematic.
Right. And that's where it started, because we stopped being, it made us individuals. We weren't part of the whole anymore. We couldn't just openly feel each other and know each other. We have to take the time to form these words that only we truly understand what we're trying to say with words. Words are not a great way to communicate. Yeah. They're actually a really bad way to communicate when it comes down to it. And I do believe that is where our duality came from. Yes, we individuated. Like we talked about in the episode, it's that making you feel like you are an individual when you're actually a part of something very much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Is where this Wetico gets its power. That's where you start getting angsty and fearful, and you don't know, you don't feel right, and like, why doesn't anybody love me, and like all these things come from that. And that's where this virus we're talking about with the Wetico sets in. So my concept, I actually have a question on all this. Do you think that the unrecognized virus was actually a weapon of the Wetico and was the tool it used to initially get into us? And it's been the Wetico the whole time. And it's only by giving up our language as we know it that we can actually become one thing again. We can actually come together as a species in a way that we actually feel and want, and really like don't want to be individual anymore. How do we stop wanting to be individual?
It's fascinating. And again, different cultures have different beliefs about this. But really, when you talk about Eric Neumann and you talk about some of the original origin theories and some of that Joseph Campbell stuff as well, you see that the chief is the first one that's separated. The tribe is one thing, and then the chief becomes this persona, this different thing. The hero emerges. And then right next to him, all of a sudden, the shaman or the trickster or the darker brother. Arthur and Merlin would be a good example. Rise out of the undifferentiated. And those are the first things that become these things that everyone starts to look to them for guidance and strength and leadership. And they're these two things that are opposing in a way. They're on the same team sometimes, they're not other times. And those are the two they're individuals.
They're the balance, the opposite sides of the coin, right?
But everyone else was one blob, and they kind of differentiated into their own. The chief hero emerges, and then the trickster shaman emerges time and time again.
They forged their three and became the new one.
Something like that, yeah. And I don't know, like it's fascinating. But when this came around the block, and you explained it to me in that episode, I started seeing it again in my normal readings, which is something that's been happening. Things again pop. And I found something else to read for you. This is from Gary Lockman, because I was always have a Lockman book close these days. This is from his The Secret Teachers of the Western World. Quote, in The Alphabet versus the Goddess, Leonard Shlain argued that the rise of literacy, a left brain development, its focus on linear, sequential thinking led to the decline of the earlier right-brain, image-oriented goddess religions, as well as to the rise of monotheism and patriarchal forms of society. Left-brain literacy, Shlain contends, is male-friendly, while right-brain imagery is more feminine. The subtitle of Schlain's book is The Conflict Between Word and Image, and as we've seen, the left brain works with language and logic, while the right is more at home with symbols and imagery. Shlain makes a strong case that since the rise of literacy in the second millennium BC, the left brain has increasingly gained greater and greater dominance and has at times fought a highly aggressive campaign against its opposite hemisphere. Speech, Shlain writes, gave the left brain the edge to usurp the sovereignty of the mind from its elder twin. Shlain agrees with McGilchrist that right brain form of consciousness is primary. So it ties in that Ian McGilchrist stuff of the master and the emissary. I don't know if you read that one.
We went from communicating with our right brain to communicating with our left brain after we got infected with what is now the FOXP2 gene.
Right. So the FOXP2 gene,
which came from apparently the unrecognized virus of language.
Yeah. And it's moon, goddess to god, it's sun to moon, it's feminine to masculine, or masculine to feminine to masculine, yeah.
And another point he made there that actually ties in with what you were saying about time being affected by it as well. It caused us to start thinking linearly and sequentially instead of thinking about the whole thing at once.
When we became Heideggered.
Right. So if it changed the aspect of that on space, it also probably changed our aspect of that on time. That's where we got so mono time instead of poly time.
Right.
If you really want to know more about mono and poly time, book The Silent Language by Edward T. Hall.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that comes from. Brilliant book. One of the best books I've ever read. But that leads me, actually, I have a bit of an Ahul Guano-y question for you that comes out of all what you were just talking about and what we're talking about generally as well. Can I ask you that now?
Do it, because my next thing is kind of Ahul Guano-y.
Oh, good. So it's our language in the word, specifically word, written word, that is the virus that is disconnecting us from the rest of nature on this planet, right?
Yeah.
It's basically the hypothesis we're working under for this. So with the rise of the internet, us Gen Xers particularly, I'm sure, have noticed the kind of fall of proper written language.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really knows how to spell much anymore. Everything's shorthanded and anagrammed, and you don't even know what stuff says. Nobody edits their text. They just bang, 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 bang. Like you read full-on newspaper articles from real newspapers. And
AI now.
And so much of it is misspelled. And we're letting AI write for us. And I've been worried about this for a while now, being who I am, and a reader of books and whatnot, that we're falling into an illiterate, or best case scenario, semi-literate society.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were saying back there a little bit ago, the host of the virus at some point is going to, even if it's out of just pure desperation in its death throes, is going to try to fight back and do what it can to get out from under this virus.
Mm-hmm.
is the internet, which is basically us creating a brain that is non-biological to hold our information for us and hold our language for us, but isn't susceptible to this virus. If we give our language and put our language into the internet and take it out of our own brains, we don't know how to produce the words anymore.
So that could help.
Is that a defense? Is that a defensive reaction against the virus that is our language? And maybe we're actually trying to do something good by getting rid of it and reattaching ourselves to nature.
I am not going to look at my texts and correct them anymore. Thank you, sir.
I mean,
I'm
it's
doing emoticons
strictly theory here, but I mean, that's a road that this kind of seemed to.
Yeah, maybe
just
something's changing. Something's definitely changing. Does it have anything to do with a breakdown of language? Maybe. It certainly, there's a lot breaking down. So
it's our special reaction to this virus that is leading us to the very, the cliff edge that we're about to fall off as a species on this planet. And maybe we're trying subconsciously and unwittingly to get rid of it in a way.
Word, brother.
It's a wild thing to think about.
I agree. And it sort of ties in. I have my own crazy theory. The right brain, left brain piece, the McGilchrist piece, and the Schlein piece really reminded me of if we go too far left, it reminds me of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where truth and meaning and beauty are kind of surpassed in the logical left brain. It reminded me of when those body snatchers, you put the pods under your bed at night, and then you wake up, and you're in this supposedly perfect world, but you don't have any really feelings anymore. And here's a clip from that little. You remember Invasion of the Body Snatchers? There was the Kevin McCarthy one in the 50s, and then there was the Donald Sutherland one in the 70s. Mm-hmm. But Sir Richard Dawkins says, "Love, desire, ambition, faith. Without them, life's so simple. Believe me." And Dr. Miles Bennell goes, "I don't want any part of it." And then Dawkins goes, "You're forgetting something, Miles. You have no choice."
We always have a choice, Mr. Dawkins.
Well, it was really Dan Kaufman, but I put Sir Richard Dawkins into that. So my version...
You damn Scully Muggle!
It's called the Dawkins the Pod Delusion, is what that is from. But in a way, it's reducing life to scientism, just the upper right quadrant. It's the 10,000 things. And it's taking out a lot of these, back to that whole, even that Weissman, Wesselman, Kaufman, Dawkins kind of mix up. But basically, it's sucking dry anything of any meaning. And the left-right brain thing, if we really alienate one for the other, and especially if it's really not, if the master really is the right, and we've bypassed it and gone on this Aristotle-only labeling mission.
To the point that in our Western society, at least, not all that long ago, you were considered to be possessed by the devil if you were left-handed, because that meant you were using your right brain more than your left brain.
Right.
That's how deep this goes.
Yeah.
Into our culture and society and just species as a whole.
Yeah. Anything different, always kind of vilified and frightening. But that is an indicator of what brain you're using, and they're not totally wrong. They're wrong with how they react to it, potentially. But
here's a question for you. As a species, before we got infected with this virus of language, were there more left-handed people than right-handed, and it switched after we started using the different side of our brain to communicate?
There you go. Moon goddess shift to sun god and feminine energy to male energy.
It doesn't get deeper than this.
Yeah.
This is as deep as things go.
Yeah. But I like to Ken Wilber once in a while, and he does this whole primary dualism piece with the Godhead kind of splitting. Wilber shows a blank part of a page on his Spectrum of Consciousness book, and then a second section with a grid drawn over the space. So it's like, basically it's a blank, then it's a grid. Okay. Quote, "Thus the grid itself represents logos, word and thought, symbolic elaboration, superimposition, dismemberment, maya, dualism, measurement, conceptualization, maps, everything implied in the word thought, since it is thought, the dualistic mode of knowing, that we fabricate these distinctions and dismember him daily." So we're dismembering the Godhead by putting this blank page, he puts a grid over it, and all of a sudden they're all these little different things. You just drew this grid over a blank page, and now all of a sudden you got all these segments.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing with language. That's what we're doing with word.
It just separates.
Yeah. And the Brahmin and the Buddha both
It's very
concur.
Taoist.
Yeah.
Very Taoist.
And here's Wilbur again from his Spectrum of Consciousness. Quote, "For when spoke of the knowledge of God, a duality was implied between the knower and the object of knowledge, which was not in fact the case. The very nature of language is such that it relies for meaning upon the normal subject-object relationships, but in the experience of unity, there is no such separation. Thus, simply by naming it, the unity is misrepresented." As soon as we name it, and that's again that Aristotelian kind of labeling.
That is our language separating us from what is the rest of nature.
Yeah.
We don't feel the connection. We have to explain it with words. That's a disconnect. Not a connect. That's a disconnect.
Yes. And these things popped up on my normal readings since you discussed it in an episode and handed me William S. Burroughs. These other things kind of popped into my readings, so to speak.
Another thing that you were touching on earlier, how you were talking about white people being more susceptible.
And that's back to Burroughs. He thinks the white part of the virus is the worst, and Levy thought the white part was the Cree, back to the Cree Indians and the Wendigo.
Right. But Burroughs, who himself was a white man, he believed that whiteness was itself a genetic mutation of not a good kind.
Yeah, they can't jump, just like the movie says.
Yeah, like very much like what the Cree said. Their hearts are broken. They think with their brains.
Yeah.
Burroughs was behind that.
Yeah.
And like he was the first one to ever think, like, to publicly, as far as I know, like really put out there that our style of language and communication is itself viral.
Yeah, and the heart-based intelligence versus the mind-based, the Native Americans were more heart-based. We came in more mind-based and arguably did a lot of damage.
Which is what we're going to talk about in the next Side Trail.
There you go.
So stick around for that one. If you're listening to the compilation, that'll be right up next. If you're in the Patreon, they come out with the episodes. That'll be next week.
And to honor this, though, I think we're going to do our next episode as a series of grunts.
We're going to do Quest for Fire, the audio edition. An audio play of Quest for Fire. That is a real MLT sort of concept right there.
We're busy. We're busy people.
So yeah, it just got weird enough to end a Side Trail. Anything to add or subvert before we close it up there, Moss?
Nope.
All right. Thanks to all our members in the Patreon for listening to this right after the episode, which, we try to stay at least a couple weeks, if not more so ahead. We catch up with ourselves once in a while, but you always get early release in the Patreon for just $1 a month. That is patreon.com/monsterlore. Man, my brain's broken. Yes, Moss.
But if you do catch up with your doppelganger, go back to that episode, Doppelganger, and find out what you should do if you do catch up with yourself. Because we've been chasing ourselves.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
Yep. And my language center is revolting against my right lobed
See?
brain.
That's
so
good.
Until the next time, to all our fellow paranerdalists out there, keep it weird. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Side Trail 82 of the Monster Lore Tour Paranormal Deep Dives from the Edge of Nowhere podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Carr, here along with my co-host and the guy who thinks with all the wrong parts, Mr. Matt Ozero. What's up, Moz?
That was a setup,
Yeah, I blindsided you with that one, didn't I?
Yeah, I am Frankenhooker.
If you only watch one movie this year.
Exactly. Well done, sir.
I stayed up way too
Bill
late.
Murray.
I stayed up way too late the other night.
Watching Frankenhooker?
Watching The Man Who Knew Too Little.
Ah.
I started it thinking I would fall asleep to it, and it was so good. I stayed up till 4 a.m.
There you go.
Too old for that stuff, Moss. You know what I mean?
No,
I still act like I'm 20.
I wouldn't be that optimistic about
30?
15. I was going the other way.
Oh, 15.
Yeah.
Maybe even 12 sometimes. Mm-hmm. But if you're not Peter Pan every day, you're not Peter Pan at all. So
that's true. You got to dive in.
Yep. You got to live it. You got to live it in real
tinker
life.
that bell.
Wow. Moving on. Welcome to the Side Trail for the monstrous microcosm, everyone. Please forget what we just said. I took over this one because I had an idea in a conversation with Maz. I believe it was in response to the Watiko episode. And I was like, man, I have a concept. And he's like, you want to do the side trail for the next one? I don't have one yet. And I was like, oh, yeah. I haven't even seen your script, and it's going to fit so well. I love it. We have aligned. We truly share a brain now, I think, in a way. Yeah.
Or a liver.
Well, we should
filter out better.
When we get on mic, our frequency is aligned now. We can actually like achieve that harmony of frequency where our brains are thinking on the same wavelength. So we're a little bit telepathic. I really do believe people function that way on a certain level.
Well, if I end up in jail, we have to finish each other's sentences.
Well, that's got to work both ways, right? Maybe I'll go get in some trouble.
No. Whoa.
Let's get into this side trail because where I'm going with this is I came up with kind of the theory which led to another theory. So this side trail is the many brains versus mega mind theory special.
I think I saw that on Tubi. It was a mega shark, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Megalodon.
Yeah, it was Megalodon versus mega shark.
There you go. Many brains versus mega mind. Keep that in mind. So we have delved into the monstrous microcosm from Oz's episode. Now let us look at some specific bits that to me seem to all point towards similar conclusions. We start with the stat, mentioned this very briefly in the episode. We start with the stat that human bodies, cell for cell, molecule for molecule, are all composed of between 56 to 57% non-human cells.
So that's bacteria, everything else in us.
That means if broken down cell by cell, we are actually only about 43 to 44% human. Yeah. With this brain-bending, identity-defying number in mind, and knowing already that
we talked about
it's the microcosm that makes up all those. So we're going to kind of,
and we're mostly
move
water.
Along with that information.
Add that part, we're mostly water, and then what the heck are we?
Yeah. We're a petri dish full of microbes. But I want to first, where we're going to start for this theory building side trail here, is a look at the gut-brain connection, which is something you mentioned in the episode. For basics on the gut-brain connection, we have this excerpt from an article on Harvard Health Publishing. It's on, or I should say from Harvard Health Publishing on health.harvard.edu. The gut-brain connection is no joke. It can link anxiety to stomach problems and vice versa. Have you ever had a gut-wrenching experience? Do certain situations make you feel nauseous? Have you ever felt butterflies in your stomach? We use these expressions for a reason. The gastrointestinal tract is sensitive to emotion. Anger, anxiety, sadness, elation, all of these feelings and others can trigger symptoms in the gut. The brain has a direct effect on the stomach and intestines. For example, the very thought of eating can release the stomach's juices before food gets there. This connection goes both ways. A troubled intestine can send signals to the brain, just as a troubled brain can send signals to the gut. Therefore, a person's stomach or intestinal distress can be the cause or the product of anxiety, stress, or depression. That's because the brain and the gastrointestinal system are intimately connected. This is especially true in cases where a person experiencing gastrointestinal upset with no obvious physical cause. For such functional GI disorders, it is difficult to try to heal a distressed gut without considering the role of stress and emotion. What's going on in your brain?
Used to call it neurosis back in the day.
There you go. Given how closely the gut and brain interact, it becomes easier to understand why you might feel nauseated before giving a presentation or feel intestinal pain during times of stress. That doesn't mean, however, that functional gastrointestinal conditions are imagined or, quote, all in your head. Psychology combines with physical factors to cause pain and other bowel symptoms. Psychosocial factors influence the actual physiology of the gut as well as symptoms. In other words, stress or depression or other psychological factors can affect movement and contractions of the GI tract. Like literally physically alter the way it works. So why are our guts and our brain so closely connected and communicating so directly with enough force to cause noticeable physical and mental effects?
Bacteria.
It has to do with the makeup of what we commonly refer to as the gut brain. Or, to be more scientifically correct, our intestinal microbiome.
Yep.
This is the collection of trillions of microbes in our guts, primarily bacteria, but also fungi and viruses of many kinds. They're all in there. That control our digestion and oversee all intestinal operations.
It's a big job.
It's a big job. That tract is long.
Yeah.
These trillions of assorted microbes are what we collectively refer to as our gut brain. And it is what controls these communications with our actual brain and can have those measurable effects on our physical and mental states of being. It's the microbes.
I think I said hangry last episode.
You did. That's why we had lunch before the side trail.
Yeah.
Well, your dinner, my lunch. It's timeline gaps.
Yeah.
But why such a direct link between our guts and our brain? That may have something to do with a new scientific discovery, which you touched on in the episode. Thank you, Anton Petrov on YouTube. We have a brain microbiome. I'm going to let that hang there. We have a brain microbiome. Until recently, we believed that our brains were immaculate, untouched by outside organisms, and clean of all of these nasty little microbes that control our guts. Well, that concept has been torn down by a batch of new evidence. This all came from new technologies in the medical field, better microscopes and genetic testing.
Yeah, I think it's been there, and that's what I was trying to get at. I think it's actually been there. We're just finding it.
It's been there forever. We just couldn't see it before.
Yeah, they thought the lungs were clean, too, and they're finding things wherever they look.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
You're pulling a me and jumping ahead on me.
Gotcha.
On you. Duck season.
Wabbit season.
Yeah, here is an excerpt from an article published May 15th, 2024 on theconversation.com. The idea that the brain has a microbiome was first suggested in 2013, but it didn't get much attention. This is mostly due to the long-standing belief that the brain is a sterile organ, shielded from the rest of the body and from harmful agents that are circulating in our blood.
Chaos agents.
It is also difficult to confirm the presence of microbes. The techniques used rely on analyzing foreign genetic material, which can be unreliable because of these fragments of DNA, could be the result of contamination. In healthy brains, the so-called blood-brain barrier shields the brain from the blood and any harmful substances dissolved in it. However, this is something we mentioned in the episode, during aging and in neurological diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease, this protective barrier becomes leaky and blood and harmful substances can enter the brain. This can cause diseases and further worsen the damage that has already occurred. Similarly, the immune system also becomes less effective as we age. This could also contribute to the presence of microorganisms throughout the body that might have been cleared away by immune cells in younger people. So it kind of gets worse as you get older, is basically what it's getting at there.
But are they still there in the young? I feel like they're still there.
Yes.
There's just more of... Well, yeah.
I'm going to ... and here comes a little bit more. A group of researchers from the University of Edinburgh compared the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease to healthy brains. You touched on this in the episode as well.
Control group.
The brains of people with Alzheimer's harbored more bacteria and fungi than healthy people, but they did find several species of fungi, bacteria, and other microorganisms in healthy brains. The human brain microbe was found to be a subset, about 20%, of the gut microbiome.
Meaning?
It's literally a derivative of the microbiome in our guts.
So it's like a little...
Let me read my notes because I did write this out.
Okay.
So what we have here
is a sandwich.
Is a question. Did our guts colonize our brain in order to have more control of our overall system? With 20% of the gut biome making up the brain biome in its entirety, or using the gut-brain reference, does that mean that the gut brain is actually dominant over our brain? That's my main question. Or is it just the gut's way of keeping closer track of what's going on? Like they're just connected to the throne in a way. Do you think that, in another question, and then I'm going to let Maz respond here, Do you think the brain accepted the biome willingly, or did it put up a fight? Was it an invasion or a symbiotic agreement?
Yeah, we would look at, and the only thing I'm going to say about that, because I don't know, but the thing I'm going to say about it, on the cellular level, we would look at us as this is part of us. This is no longer this separate entity. When it gets, the cell membrane is around it, whatever goes on in there is part of this organism. And we keep thinking, oh, this is the separate part of us. If an alien comes down, and they dissect you. This is what's in you. This is how the whole thing works. And we always think, oh, it's not me. It's not me. It is you, dude.
It's all you.
It's all you.
The actual real numbers are like, it's rough, but it's like 40 trillion of your cells are non-human and like 30 trillion of them are.
Yeah.
Like we're literally outnumbered by non-human things in our own body. So what does that make us?
Yeah, it's a variation of what we were talking about.
And we think we think all our thoughts and everything comes from our brain, but now we're finding that the gut
and the heart
literally kind of owns the brain, and at least partially in a way. It's directly connected. The biome is overlapping. It's literally invaded and infected the brain in a way. I mean, those might be the wrong terms. Maybe the brain needs that, but was it just the gut wanting that? That's a big question.
And then the heart is in the middle of that with this heart-brain intelligence thing. So I'm just saying there's more to it.
What a great segue, Moz. I'm going to start reading my script again. But there are more brains within us vying for control. This next one brings us back to a reference you made in previous episode 81, the Watiko. You talked about how when white colonists showed up, the Cree said they were broken because they, quote, thought only paraphrase, thought only with their brains and never with their hearts.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a metaphor to us, but what if this reference is more literal than we realize?
Yeah.
Let's go now to an article from sciencenews.org. This is from June 2nd, 2020. Headline reads, a new 3D map illuminates the little brain within the heart. Nerve cells in the organ are poorly understood. The heart has its own brain. Now scientists have drawn a detailed map of this little brain called the intracardiac nervous system in rat hearts. The heart's big boss is the brain, but nerve cells in the heart have a say too. These neurons are thought to play a crucial role in heart health, helping to fine-tune heart rhythms and perhaps protecting people against certain kinds of heart disease. But so far, this local control system hasn't been mapped in great detail. To make their map, systems biologist James Schwaber at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia and colleagues imaged male and female rat hearts with a method called knife-edge scanning microscopy, creating detailed pictures of heart anatomy. Those images could then be built into a 3D model of the heart. They're like 3D printing these things, man. Technology's going crazy.
Yeah.
The scientists also plucked out...
the right word.
Yeah, going crazy. The scientists also plucked out individual neurons and measured the amount of gene activity within each cell. These measurements helped sort the heart's neurons into discrete groups. Most of these neuron clusters dot the top of the heart, where blood vessels come in and out. Some of these clusters spread down the back of the heart and were particularly abundant on the left side. With this new view of the individual clusters, scientists can begin to study whether these groups have distinct jobs. The comprehensive 3D map of the heart's little brain could ultimately lead to targeted therapies that could treat or prevent heart diseases, the authors write online, May 26th, in iScience. Essentially what's happening here is there is a network of neurons, a neural network if you will, much like what you find in our brains in our heart, serving as our heart brain. As opposed to having the microbial link with the brain like the gut brain, the heart brain speaks to the brain in its own language, electric impulses through neural networks.
Wow. So it is a totally different...
It's a separate
different
little brain,
but it works totally different. So there's no bacteria involved in this.
Right.
Yeah.
But what are neurons? What are those little electrical impulses flying through us? Ask yourself that, because we were talking about how potentially it's an energy thing.
Well, it's chemical and electrical.
Yeah.
It's collectrical.
But speaking of the microbial brain connection, there are other organs and systems within the body that have recently been found to have similar such microbiomes that seem to control not only that system, but system interactions throughout the body.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Liver?
I didn't do the liver.
I just feel like it's such a big organism.
Yeah, I
such
did.
A big organ, rather.
I did consider looking into the liver, but I had so much, and it's just a side trail.
I just want to know what my liver has to say, because it's probably really pissed.
Your liver is like, get me the hell out of here, dude.
Have you listened to your heart or your brain or your gut biome any amount of time, man?
Your liver's just in there like, man, I need new friends. I really need new friends.
I just want to hear what it has to say, that's all.
One of your earlier mentions, though, is actually what I'm getting at next. You talked about the lungs. My next note says, take the respiratory system, for example. Until recently, much like the brain, we thought our lungs were a sterile system, free of any dirty little microbiomes like what our nasty guts have to deal with. Our lungs were the right side of town, if you know what I mean. But here goes the neighborhood. Just like with the brain, the lungs have been found to contain a microbiome previously unregistered by our science. In this biome, much like the gut-brain connection, there is a shared biome with the mouth and sinuses, creating what might be taken as a respiratory tract brain, or simpler put, a breathing brain.
So that's more connected to the stomach biome, not the electrical heart.
Right, it's more straight up microbiome. Yes, gotcha. It's bacteria, fungi, viruses.
Interesting.
And at some point, this brain party spilled out onto the lawn because the skin itself has a biome made up of all these bacteria and fungus and virus, oh my, just like all of these others. And this skin brain has powers like the others to affect the whole system and how you perceive the world. Here's a trip for you, Moz. Let's go back for a moment to Side Trail 26. The side trail for the Alma Fielding episode. Do you remember what it was about?
Yeah. She was somewhat of a fraud, but still a very crazy, interesting character.
Oh, no, I'm asking what the side trail was about.
Oh, no. Okay.
I know. Took me a minute, too. In this Side Trail 26, we discussed the concept and apparent reality of blind sight. Blind sight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll remember, Maz, that for a time, Alma Fielding experienced what doctors of the time may have referred to as hysterical blindness.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
For no apparent physical reason, she lost her ability to see. We go into the mental reasons behind it. It was definitely a psychosis-linked thing. Episode 26, if you want to hear about it. Mm-hmm. But she was able to get through the day without this being an obvious thing somehow. It took days for her own husband to notice that she couldn't see anything. Mm-hmm. We talked about a couple of other examples in that side trail as well, but they all had one common element. All those who apparently had this blind sight said that they could, quote, see with their skin.
That's what Daredevil does.
Uh-huh. There's a guy in there whose optic nerve was severed. He could play cards.
Wow.
Like he could sit down and play cards with you, and he knew what he had in his hand.
Yeah.
And his optical nerve was gone.
That's crazy.
Like he could not see.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And he could I got jacks over 8s.
That's crazy.
How the hell do you do that? And he said, I could see with my skin.
Wow.
So much like with the heart brain versus brain thing earlier, what if this is a more, literal thing than the rest of us are willing to admit, this whole blind sight seeing with my skin thing? Mm-hmm.
Well, again, it brings back just to shapeshift for a minute. Skin changers, it's always changing of the skin is just this common trope with monsters, and now are you putting on some other way to perceive the world by changing the skin and more in a deeper level? I mean, it's still skin deep.
So. Exactly. You're great at these segues, man. It seems at this point that the body is really just made up of a bunch of different brains.
Receptors and brains.
Yeah, all doing their thing and balancing each other out. And sometimes fighting over who is going to have the ultimate power over the chimeric machine that is you.
Yeah.
This,
No, mine.
yeah, this, or that, I should say, is the many brains theory.
Yeah.
That's my many brains theory.
The multi-brain universe.
But while I was working up that theory, it led me into another theory, the mega mind theory. What if we're just one big brain? This is a big point of debate amongst scientists and philosophers alike these days. But what if consciousness only occurs on the microscopic level, that every one of these non-human cells within us is a part of what we perceive to be our own consciousness, and that our brain is just the part of the system that allows us to understand this about ourselves?
So it's a big fight going on, like a crazy match, and whoever wins becomes this little flink of a consciousness that we...
Yeah, we do not exist as a single mind, but as one big mashup of separate consciousnesses that came together to form one vessel that can carry them all through this version of existence on this plane that we call reality.
Again, what are we, and what is winning, and how are we actually being manipulated and driven?
This is the
Comes back to Watiko.
It does. This is the mega mind theory, that we are a single mind formed by a multitude of brains that all exist simultaneously, separately, and as one on the microscopic level. Think of it as the micro-Borg. Borg? Mm-hmm. You mentioned that in the episode a few times. You are their ship. They have all been assimilated into your one made of many mega mind. May sound crazy. Huh?
But I don't know who's driving the bus.
Yeah, let us ponder the octopus. You brought up the octopus in the episode as well.
Colin Wilson did, but I just read it.
Octopus. I'm not going to quote anyone, but a quick search anywhere online will get you verification of this. Have 9 brains. They have 9 brains.
Wow. Is some related to skin, or what organs?
It goes a little deeper than that, too. To put it as simple as possible, and in the terms of contemporary science, the octopus has one central brain where you would expect...
each tentacle.
Like in what we would think of as a head behind the eyes. That's the main brain. Like behind its giant eyeballs, you know?
Yeah.
And an additional mini brain, kind of sounds like the heart thing maybe, at the end of each of its 8 legs. So there's your 9. Yeah. Some also believe, this goes beyond now, some also believe there is evidence that each little sucker on each leg has its own even farther scaled down mini brain. This would essentially mean the octopus is just one big network of brains with a morphable, shape-shifting, chameleon-powered skin wrapped around it.
You know what my mind-blowing moment with this is now?
What's that?
The microcellular, we said that there was no way I said that they intentionally did this, that, or the other thing. Maybe they did. The microcellular level actually made these decisions based on what was happening as tiny little brains.
Yep. Yeah, the consciousness is just pervasive through every cell in your body. You don't even need your brain to be conscious.
But endosymbiosis and autopoiesis and all this stuff might have been much more driven by some level, some rudimentary intelligence. Maybe not rudimentary. Maybe it's not rudimentary. Yeah. Maybe we're rudimentary.
Yeah.
It's like, get this big dummy to get me a sandwich.
Yep. We're just here to carry the microbes around.
And the sandwich.
And, the sandwich feeds the microbes.
Yeah. Bastards.
You know, they're feeding off all that stuff we put through us.
I knew I didn't like that much mayonnaise. It is. It isn't me.
The fungi love mayonnaise.
That's true.
But on the overall, getting back to the point of the side trail, the point I'm getting at with my octopal tangent here is if the octopus can do it, why not us? Do we actually have a network of brains within us all putting in their piece to create what we perceive as our consciousness, our thoughts, our entire self? And if so, what are the implications as they apply to things, not only in day-to-day, but in the things we discuss here on the darker side of MLT? I have a few specific points to frame what I'm talking about on that. All right, first, I have possession. And this one's a little jump in timelines. If you're listening to this fresh in the Patreon before the next episode comes out, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. If you're listening to the Side Trail compilation, The episode before the compilation is about the Sallie House.
How did I do in that episode?
Oh, you're great, dude.
Awesome.
So good.
All my minds working together.
Everyone should totally go back and listen to that episode. Yeah,
I'm great.
But on the point of possession is, this whole multi-mind thing applies. Does the possessing demon have to take you one mind at a time? This is my theory on this question. It picks away at your lesser minds, weakening you physically and mentally before assaulting the central mind. Like with Tony in the Sallie House, when he had to keep fighting the urge to do his family harm. His guts, and this is, me hypothesizing, his guts and skin and these odd pieces of himself told him to do such horrible things. But in the end, his brain, or maybe his overall mega mind, won out and kept him from doing the succubus's bidding. Little foreshadowing for those in the Patreon. They're like, ooh, what happened?
I have a cut in here.
Yeah.
This is a good time? Terrible time?
Yeah, go ahead.
But pathogenic and executive function possessions, that's the two main types. Executive is when it takes over and you're totally at its mercy.
Yep.
Pathogenic is when a shaman might maybe the shaman's using these other pieces of the brain. It's not really a possession, but it's just being able to tap into these other parts of yourself.
Yeah, like if the demon can get into your gut brain and affect your brain from there.
Right.
It's not fully taking control of it, but it's affecting it in a way that it weakens it to the point that maybe they can slide in at some point, or takes over your skin brain or your heart brain, or maybe there's a liver brain, your lung brain, blah, blah, blah.
But the executive piece of it is when you're taken over that way.
Right.
The pathogenic is actually the reverse, where you may be using these other brains and getting information because you're not really possessed. It's a possession of your own control, like as a shaman. Maybe they're tapping into their other brains.
Yeah.
And the executive is when the other brains tap into you. It's like when Pizza the Hut orders out for you. It's like that.
Yeah, there you go. Pizza's gonna order out for you. Actually, I'll do this one next. Another point I have on my list here is shape-shifting. This is what you keep pushing out and ties into what you're just saying. What if controlling, say, the skin brain allows you to change your skin? What if controlling the skin brain and the breathing brain allows you to live like the fish? What if knowing and controlling all of your separate brains with your one mega mind gives you the power to become what you wish and walk between the realms? Is this how one ascends to the next plane, essentially becomes a jinn? Is this how shaman find their power? Is this how they operate? Do they actually consciously take control of these different brains that most of us are just walk through life totally unaware of?
Yeah. That's what I was saying it a different way with pathogenic and executive possession, same thing.
So we're on the same wavelength there. We're finding commonalities, which is good. One other one I have on here, which we haven't really talked about on the podcast, but kind of fell into my mind as I was writing, is the whole chakra thing.
Yeah.
Are the chakras
I thought about that because you have the heart, you got the lungs, you got, there's no neck chakra, but
okay, so
that could be
so I'm not totally off by bringing this up then. I did wonder if I was, okay. But so are the chakras really just focal points for focusing each of your brains individually in order to put the entire system into proper alignment?
Yeah.
Does meditative breathing somehow align your breathing brain with your guts brain / brain biome? Things like that?
Yeah.
Interesting things to think about when you start realizing that we are not just one big chunk of human, but all these different systems coming together to create this thing that we call ourselves.
Yeah, I think the whole Vedic piece of it is that, that we as in the West get stuck in our brains and they're trying to be the centaur, the whole mind body as one. And that mind-body as one is exactly that. All these other regions and areas that do exist, and maybe on another neural level we didn't even realize. But that tie-in of that whole entire system, being aware of the entire body, is a big part of the meditative process, one of the bigger steps.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's the whole thing with the really deep meditators they can see them changing their own brain waves and healing their own bodies and doing these things that it's like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
But if they're linking their brains together in the right ways and actually like stop thinking with your brain and start thinking with your skin brain, it's like in Bull Durham when he's breathing through his eyelids.
Yeah, he can breathe.
You
through
know
his
what
eyelids,
I mean?
You know.
Like that's how you get rid of the yips. You just got to breathe through your eyelids, man.
Yeah, we can work on that
because that turns off your brain because the yips come from the brain. I'm tangenting, but you get my point.
Yeah, that's right.
If you start breathing through your,
but true.
You know, you start breathing through your eyelids, and then it's like instead of your breathing brain and your brain, it's all of a sudden it's your skin brain.
Seeing with your fingers.
Yeah, it's like idea. Yeah, like a blind guy beating you at poker.
Yeah,
it's like how the hell is he doing that? Yeah. Give me 2 cards. It's like how the hell does he know? And then he like drops a full house on you, and you're like, he's got to be cheating. Like you're gonna imagine this guy's got to be cheating.
Yeah,
and he's like, nah, I can see with my skin.
Yeah.
Okay, he's really cheating. Like that's how most people are going to respond to that.
Yeah.
If you can hear that and go, oh, and accept it as a real thing, your whole reality just changed.
Yeah.
Compared to all those people who are like, now he's really cheating. Like you have a different reality at that point.
But it has implications for psi too, because in some ways that isn't psi. You're just using other areas differently.
Right.
It's not psi. It's psi adjacent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I mean, it is psi, but it isn't.
It's not extra sensory. It's ultra sensory.
Ooh.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
Ultra sensory perception. Yeah. Is that a term yet? Did I just coin something?
You might have.
That's got to be out there somewhere.
You might have.
Ultra sensory perception. Today is February 25th, 2025. Ultra sensory perception. If that didn't exist yet, it's mine.
Mine. No, mine.
Trademark.
Tico is speaking through him right now.
And it says the guy that, this is the guy saying he doesn't have the mind virus. And it's like, that's mine.
Yeah.
I thought of it. It's mine.
Yeah,
mine.
He copyrighted it before he said it. No, I copyrighted before you said it.
Trademark. Oh.
Yeah, I was seeing it. I sent you that message with my middle finger.
Nice. I can always tell when a side trail's over. Anything to add or subvert before we go here, Moss?
I'm going to wave the other middle finger. Yeah.
I'm going to go.
No, that was really well done, sir.
Yeah, I felt it a proper way to conclude this latest portion of the microcosm parts, and it went so well. It went so much even better with your episode than I expected it to. That was great.
Well, it has implications for everything we talk about, and it changes in a way, potentially, everything we talk about.
That's the thing, because once I realized that, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a totally different angle to look at this from.
Yeah. But it's this paranormal phenomenon.
Again, it's that fractalization thing. It's the same but different.
Yeah.
It's that variance
difference in scale.
Yeah, variance in theme, variance in scale, all that sort of stuff. Nice. All right. I think we finished already. I already asked you the question. All right, let's get out of here. If everybody could hit those happy fun buttons before you go, and make sure to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/monsterlore. Yes, Moss?
And that was just your little brain. If you'd used your big brain, that would have been an even better Side Trail.
And as I said at the beginning, he thinks with all the wrong parts. Until the next time, to all our fellow paranerdalists out there, stay groovy, baby. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Side Trail 83 of Monster Lore Tour Paranormal Deep Dives from Edge of Nowhere Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Carr, here along with my co-host and the guy with a portal in his pocket. Or maybe he's just happy to see me. The Moz. How's it, Moz?
I'm glad you're sticking with the whole suggestive thing. The Golgi apparatus was the last one.
Gogi. So for this Side Trail Excursion, we are going to get deeper into the lore of the Sallie House. We covered all the necessaries in the main episode, but there was a lot we didn't have time to get to there. So strap in and hold on, because we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Eastbound and down, baby. Anywho, first I want to touch on a symptom of the spirit portal in the Pickman place that we didn't get into in the main episode. It's a small bit, but I know you'll appreciate it, Moz, so I slipped it in here to warm us up for this side trail. Amidst the fires and phantasms and cold spots and flying teddy bears, there occurred on a couple of occasions a much more traditional portally presence.
Teddy Ruxbuggers.
That of a glowing, free-floating orb. They had an orb.
Nice.
I know you like orbs, Moz.
Well, it's another
I have to put in the orb for Moz.
Yeah. I like big orbs. I cannot lie.
But me too. Here's how it all went down according to Debra's book. Quote, I was upstairs in the master bedroom talking to Tony and sitting on the edge of the bed closest to the bedroom door. From there I could see the upper portion of the stairway and a good section of the hallway. I had casually glanced up and saw what I could only describe as a tennis ball-sized lightning bug. Unlike a lightning bug, however, its glow was steady. Even with the mid-afternoon sun shining through the window just behind it, I could plainly see its brightness. For a split second, it lingered motionless in the air, approximately 6 feet above the 9th or 10th step from the top of the landing. It then made a quick spiraling motion, darted down the stairs, and vanished. The diameter of its corkscrew-like motion was about 12 inches at first, and as it descended the stairs, its diameter diminished until it became a straight tail of light. This wonderful display took place within an area of about 3 or 4 feet and ended within a matter of seconds. This wouldn't be the last time we saw this strange ball of light. ... The next day was rather quiet. We spent most of it playing with Taylor and helping him explore his new toys. At 9:05 p.m., Taylor looked up and whirled around as if to watch something speed through the air above him. 10 minutes later, as Tony lay face up on the floor, he saw a flash of light in the corner of the room near the ceiling. He described it as a whirling ball of very bright light, just like the one I had seen in the stairwell, only days earlier. So how you like them orbs, Maz?
Yeah, again, we're back to what everyone seems to see, a different version of it. When you get too many in a row, it does seem like, is it contrived or not? But I don't want to go there because they do seem to be the same types of things that people, when they have these things, they come in packages and clusters of these events.
Yeah, it is what it is, as they say.
Yeah, haunting's like a box of chocolates.
No matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
Except different. Except spookier.
But there is another reason I wanted to mention these orb sightings, not just to ply Maz. In Debra's story, the motion and disappearance of the orb makes me think she may have witnessed some energy actually passing through the interdimensional portal. The cold spots in the stairwell could be a marker of the location of the portal, and then watching this ball of light literally spiral down into nothing.
Black holy.
That to me sounds like a dimensional transference of energy, very black holy, like it went through the singularity point kind of the portal kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, hypothetically.
Yeah. And fractally and all that other good stuff. But even whirlwindery, you mentioned whirlwinds a couple times. I didn't call you on it, but you were talking about whirling. Yeah. It's another thing we come across is in sorcery. There's a lot of spiraling vortexy energies.
It's true. Yeah. Like the wind that blew out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, now I want to get into a whole subplot from the book that got left out of our Hollywoodized version here on Monster Lore Tour in the main episode because there really just wasn't time.
Pickmans owned a Chinese restaurant. And
during all the craziness of the Pickmans' time in the Sallie House, they were visited by the crew of a TV show called Sightings. This is back in the 90s, so it's straight up, network TV over antennas and stuff.
Yeah.
And not just once did they appear on the show Sightings, but 4 times. 4 times they had a full-on TV crew in their home for a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in different psychics and paranormalists to investigate the house. Some of these guys actually came up with some little bits and pieces of things that are worked into the book later on. No matter how, we can't do it all here. So sometimes you got to read the book.
Yeah.
Definitely a big advocate of reading the book. The book's always better.
Unless it's our
podcasts are like movies. You got to put it into 2 hours. You can't do it all in 2 hours. If you want it all, you got to read the book. It's just how it is.
Gotcha.
But they brought in different psychics and paranormalists to investigate the house. The TV crew and these, everyone involved witnessed a number of ghostly occurrences, including Tony being violently attacked. There were a lot more of those scratching incidents where he would just suddenly start bleeding. Mm-hmm. Apparently being clawed up by some demonic spirit. Succubus.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me. Succubus. Succubus.
Yep.
That's how you're supposed to do that, right? I even found a video of one of these scenes on YouTube. We touched on that in the episode. The link will be in the show notes for the side trail here. But what you will see there is Tony, surrounded by crew and lights and cameras, suddenly start bleeding from his arm. He moves quickly out of the house, and once they get a chance to look at his arm, they see a long, deep bleeding slice up the inside of his forearm, much like what you would see in attempts at self-harm, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's rather terrifying to watch, honestly. It really is. It's about a minute long, the clip. I was going to show it to you now, Moz. You ready? Do you want to watch it?
Sure.
So there you go, Moz. He had a gash 2.5 inches long on the inside of his forearm that required deep enough to require stitches.
Yeah.
And they just watched it like happen.
Nice.
It's pretty wild.
But it wasn't on. He was off camera when he stepped on. I'm going to say that. I don't know.
He was, but
the whole...
there were people all around him.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean? Like he had eyes on.
Yeah.
It would have been hard to really fake that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to.
And I believe I didn't really get the whole background, but I believe that clip is from later on when they didn't even live there anymore. And
He said he's not coming back, so he's obviously coming back to do the investigation. He said he wouldn't do any more at the end. Right.
He's like, I'm done, dude. That's the last time you ever went there.
Yeah. Yep. He's Sally Forth.
Sally Forth.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Sally Forth, house on the left. Yikes.
Good mishmash.
Okay, but let's now get into the meat of this side trail excursion, as it were. I want to present
Teddy Ruxburgers.
Yeah, that was some bad meat. It was that or cat.
The Wolfman Puck.
You want Teddy Ruxburger or cat? That was a bad Wolfman Pucks, dude. That was rough. Like, I hate myself a little bit.
But that's why we ended the episode right after that. It broke.
Yeah, we broke it.
Episode.
We did break it. But I want to present another hypothesis and then tie it in with my main theory of the succubus that I presented in the main episode. So first, I have a suspicion that Tony may have been, unbeknownst to him and his family, an intuitive himself, a sensitive, a spirit talker, whatever you want to call it. Maz might call him a shaman who has lost his path.
Yeah.
Huh?
There you go.
I just came up with that one.
It's true.
My first inclination toward this theory was from the reading we did in the main episode about Tony's encounter with the succubus, in which she seemed to appear to Tony in full-on apparition form. This is the scene with the lady with the blackbird on her finger, if you remember, Moss.
Yep.
Here is a shortened version of the passage we read in the episode to get everyone back in the zone. Quote, this is a direct quote from Tony. The formation of dust particles near the foot of the bed began to get darker and denser. I think I was mesmerized by this formation, and before I realized it, had taken the shape of a woman's upper torso, her arms folded in front of her and across her abdomen. This thing started to move closer to me, and as it did, I could make out more details, like dark hair and a bitchy look like the store owner's wife on Little House on the Prairie. I left that in for you, Maz. And I was getting pretty scared, and I don't know why I didn't try to get up and leave. As she got closer, I could see she was dressed all in black, with a high collar adorned with a brooch. ... The woman's hand suddenly lunged for my face, and I heard a voice say, "I'm gonna." There was more that was said, but I couldn't make it out. I remember her hand was covered in a long black lace glove. And just as it was inches from my face, I saw a blackbird on her finger. I struggled to crawl out of bed and over to the door. And I don't know if I was just too scared to work the knob properly or what, but I couldn't get the door open. Then suddenly, everything that was moving stopped, and she was gone. ... Now here's the kicker. He went on to describe how the voice seemed to be one among many, that it had come at him quickly and then seemed to pass him, and before he grasped what was happening, the voice was out of range and completely inaudible. He reported other indistinct sounds along with the voice, but nothing he could describe in any detail. He reflected on his experience for days and later described the sounds as a lot of muffled voices deep in a tunnel and far away. It had definitely been one of his most frightening experiences.
You know, it does sound a lot like someone suffering from schizophrenia, because they often hear multiple voices at the same time, and like two male, one female. It's very common to hear kind of more than one and not be able to catch everything they're saying. That is a common. But I know it was only happening at the house, and I understand that that's not normal. That's not part of the mental illness, but it does.
And one man schizophrenic is another man shaman, right?
Well, we'll get into that. Shamanism basically is about control, and schizophrenia might be really genetic. It lacks the control. It's more the person's really just tortured, and I don't know. I don't know. There's definitely potentially a link, but it's one that needs more study.
Yeah,
back in the mausoleum.
Yeah, interesting. But as Tony is being attacked by the succubus in physical form, to get back to things here, he is also hearing a multitude of other voices in the background, right? Also in the episode, I mentioned in passing that Tony had been hearing voices in the house, like from early on. Turns out this had been basically a constant since their early days in the Sallie House, and that the cacophony of voices slowly but consistently got more and more cacophonous as time went on. That's the details that were kind of left out to Deb and everyone else in the real time of the thing. You know, he wasn't telling anybody about this, but like that few months in where everything started, he started hearing voices. They never really went away.
Yeah.
They just got worse and worse. And
yeah. That's why you take your Zyprexa.
Yeah. But it was only after they had been away from the Sallie House for a while and living in a new residence a few miles away that Deb and Tony were able to objectively think about, recollect, and discuss their personal experiences in the Sallie House, which were obviously quite different. Deb was always being buttered up by the spirit, coaxed into welcoming it closer to her heart, closer to her heart brain, maybe. Tony was always being tortured, emotionally, mentally, physically, and was at constant war with the force that seemed to want to break him, and the baby was put through a back and forth of cuddling and taunting. In the epilogue of her book, Deb comes really, really close to figuring out the succubus theory for herself, but doesn't quite get there just due to her typical lack of knowledge of the lore of the succubus. Most people don't walk around with that in their brain. But this is MLT, so we do.
Yeah, we do.
So fortunately for us, we're here.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll climb on your chest and suffocate you in the middle of the night.
Right.
Yeah.
But if
everybody needs a hobby.
Yeah. But being in the know of the succubus lore, when you add it all up, it tends to make sense. But let's hear how Debra came really close to figuring this all out in her book, and then we'll come back and we'll have Maz maybe talk a little bit more on this. Quote, "What did not make sense was why Tony was being enticed by this female and then attacked with physical injuries and force. Why would she do him harm if he was the object of her desire? Was it a fatal attraction thing in which his denying her advances and her need to be acknowledged made her angry? Maybe it was a case of, if I can't have him, no one will? Or was it more sinister than that? Did it simply want to ruin the bonds that Tony and I shared, or ruin him by influencing him to kill me? Actions and events seem to have suggested just that. Realistically, though, even this type of influence seemed to be too much and too powerful to be coming from a human spirit with a grudge. From a slightly more sinister perspective, if the entity wanted us to stay in the house for a specific reason and its first attempt was to entice us with the innocent Sallie, it didn't make sense for it to work so hard to remove me from the picture. I seemed to be an unwitting advocate in its goal of winning Tony over. Why then did it work so hard to wear him down? Why did it make so many attempts to tear our relationship apart? It simply didn't make sense, and was more reminiscent of demons in the way they work. I was won over easily, very accepting of what the entity originally presented to us. It was not able to convince Tony that what was in the house was good or innocent. We often look back and wonder if the female entity actually entered with her own objectives. Then again, it may have been something more sinister from the beginning. We seem to willingly accept the presence of a demon who encouraged us to open ourselves up to a treachery and to the possibility of a terrible demise. Couldn't agree more. ... Recent research supports the idea that there never was a Sallie, so Sallie could very well have been the demon in its earliest manifestation.
Yeah, folks, you got to read the fine print when you're getting involved with a demonic entity, because the brochure looks fabulous
But she's asking a lot of questions there and saying these things don't make sense. But if it's a succubus, it kind of does make the fatal attraction thing. I mean, that's the succubus's MO, right?
Well, the other piece of it, and she does say that, she goes, it sounds more demonic, but I don't understand it.
She almost had it, but she couldn't let herself believe that it wasn't just Sallie.
Yeah.
I mean, just maybe to keep her own sanity and not realize that there was a demon spooning her in her bed at night.
Yeah.
Like, that's a horrifying thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they all had a different tale to tell that all painted a picture of what was happening. But it really also just, again, and we mentioned this in the episode, follows the psychic vampirism piece where it's just gradually draining you. They said they were getting fearful and paranoid, which is, again, back to George Hansen. We find that those tropes around the house. And, of course, creating that atmosphere is what these things feed on, even back to the Bridgeport, Connecticut, the
Bridgeport
parasite.
poltergeist.
Yeah, the parasite. They're feeding on the terror they're creating. And it seems like that would be what's happening here,
Fear feeds on fear.
Yeah. Fear contagion.
Yeah, and there is a lot of talk of paranoia and stuff in the book too, and like the TV crew is like a big point of contention between Deb and Tony all the time. Like they're always fighting over whether they want to let them in and stuff. But yeah, it dissolves over time. It just gets worse and worse the longer you allow that energy to be in your space and in yourself. The worse and worse it's going to get.
I'll see if George Hansen mentions this incident. I don't think he does. That book came out in 2001. This incident happens in 93. He could have referenced it.
Well, this book came out in 2010, though, so it did take a while for the actual book to come out. It was on
so the
TV.
incident happened in 93.
It was on sightings. Like, it was known from television in the mid-90s.
Right.
The book didn't come out till 2010.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it might have like been a flash in the pan and then it kind of disappeared from the lore for a while. But it is a known place. Like it is on. Right. If you are a paranormalist, if you are in this realm, you've probably heard of the Sallie House. Like it's one of the more famous haunted places at the same time. So it's maybe like call it a cult following, I guess.
Right.
Maybe we don't want to put that spin on it with this, but
well, we didn't have any cults in a basement doing satanic rituals. That we were missing that element. Hey, it's still the kid. The night's young.
No, I don't know anyone who's running a cult.
Road trip.
Oh boy. All right, so just to tie everything up and not leave any nasty little danglies along our side trail today, I just wanted to address what Deb said at the end of that last quote. Specifically, recent research supports the idea that there never was a Sallie.
Never was.
That might have sounded a little random, so I'm going to explain. This goes back to there being no record of a Sallie ever living, never mind specifically dying in the Sallie House. Through her research, as well as research performed by the staff of Sightings TV show, Deb learned of a number of deaths that took place in the house and was able to get a pretty thorough history of the residents over the generations of occupancy.
So even to the 100-year mark when this was supposed to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there wasn't a Sallie.
Okay.
They didn't have a Sallie. There were some people who died there.
Yeah.
But not a Sallie. So in all this, was there ever truly a young girl ghost by the name of Sallie in the Sallie House? Or was it just a demon presenting as such, presenting as Sallie the whole time to try to work its way in on some, innocent, unsuspecting family? I think there was a Sallie, but you got to consider the possibilities here. And if you buy into the portal theory put forth, in episode 80 here on Monster Lore Tour, that alone could account for an otherwise unattached spirit.
The Sallie could have been the name of the Succubus.
But Sallie could have been the Succubus.
And just plain starting off innocent.
Which side of the coin you on here, man? Yeah. But there was one needle in the haystack of the house's history that might also explain the presence of a Sallie ghost. This was reported to Debra later on. This is like toward the end of the whole saga. Mm-hmm. After Sightings had been working on this house like repeatedly for a while, so like I believe it was the last time Sightings came to the house kind of thing. Debra was given some information by one of Sightings' researchers on their just straight up research team. Quote, I found an entry in one of the logs in 1905 of a Sallie, she was 5 or 6, that died along with her mother in an accident. I believe they were riding in something that tipped over. It did not say if they died in your home, but the accident was in an area just behind your home on a road that is still dirt. At the time, I was also able to confirm the grave location that Peter James took us to, more on that in a second. Even though it was illegible, I was able to confirm that it was a child's grave. She was named Sallie, and she was 5.
Who found this, and how did this get added?
So Peter James.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a direct message to Debra from the sightings research team. Mm-hmm. Peter James is one of the psychics that are investigators that sightings brought in for one of the filmings.
Okay, I got it.
And during that filming, he led them through the woods to this. He found a grave.
Wow.
And like it said, it was kind of worn down. They couldn't really tell. They were able to research into it, and it was a girl named Sallie.
Wow.
Who died at 5.
It's impressive mediumship work there.
So there was an accident. So there was no Sallie like in the history of the house specifically in itself, but there was this young girl named Sallie buried nearby who died in an accident nearby.
Yeah.
So add that all up. If the residents of that house at the time had tried to help this mother and daughter after the accident, isn't there a decent chance Sallie died in the house?
Yeah. The accident could have happened in the house, and it was a neighbor, from 100 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And it just never got put on the record because she didn't actually live there.
Right.
And it was such a random thing that, it didn't actually get put into the real...
Whatever tipped over was on that property.
The county didn't record it in the history of the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So interesting possibilities arising there.
Nice.
So could this mean maybe, and again, just thinking on theories of this stuff, could this mean that the succubus, or what I am presenting as a succubus, could have been the spirit of Sallie's mom? Could the tragic death have turned her evil? Is that even a thing? Was she maybe just trying to protect Sallie from these people that were in there, like that, who was it, Kim Basinger movie? Where they are the ghosts? That was a cool movie. I can't remember what that was called.
But there's Bruce Willis. No,
it's
no. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, with Kim Basinger and the 2 kids. And it turns out they're the ghosts.
Yeah,
it's a good movie. Old business, I guess. But there is a lot to process here in this case, Moz. Like the more you look into it, the more questions.
Well, it comes back to the shadow, where there was a little girl in the area, and the second entity, whatever it is the more demonic one. And the kid did not pass over potentially, and hopefully they've done these rituals to try to get that to happen. And
do you think it's possible that the woman who was attacking Tony and kind of seems to be the root of the evil of all this was maybe Sallie's mom?
It could be. I mean, that's one theory, but
does it really matter in the end either way?
It doesn't matter in the end. Something was there that was demonic. Something, the child was there that caught up in it just because of location.
Do you think, situationally, that a human spirit that passes over can be turned demonic like that?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, you don't hear a lot of, like, if something lived, if the person lives, if you believe countless lifetimes, then maybe there was enough karmic energy from the last, lifetime to be a dark soul.
Yeah. Or if you died very badly, like if she died
and that's the other one
very
that
badly,
people get
watching
stuck
her daughter
because
die.
Of that. Well, I'm just saying that maybe from the mom, Sallie probably at 5 or 6, potentially was not, just for her lifetime, not likely this demonic entity.
Oh, you know what? There's that movie. What's the comic book character that he dies and goes to hell? He's like a super soldier type. He's like a Navy SEAL type super soldier in real life. He dies and goes to hell, and he wants revenge, and he makes a deal with the devil to send him back, and he basically turns him into a demon and sends him back. Spawn. It's called Spawn. His name's because he's Hell Spawn.
Yeah, there you go.
And like the devil makes a deal with him that once his revenge is done, he has to lead the devil's armies against heaven.
Right.
but he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But he still wants his revenge.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
There you go.
I gotta watch that movie. I'm so glad I remembered that. Spawn. I gotta watch that. Have you seen that?
I don't
Are
think
you familiar with that character?
I
just realized
heard
that
of the comic character, but I am not familiar with it.
It didn't even occur to me until I asked the question and thought about it, that there is a character that goes to hell and gets turned into a demon.
There you go.
A human soul.
Yeah.
Spawn.
So now it's been proven it happened in a comic book. So
Yeah. So was
solved.
So was Sally's mom Hellspawn.
There you go.
Was Sally's mom Hellspawn.
Yeah.
I feel like we should use that as a warm-up exercise for our voices before the next episode.
I think
was
it could be
Sally's
anything.
mom Hellspawn?
I think it could be anything, but definitely one possibility.
Wild stuff, but I'm out. That's all I got, Maz.
It's spooky.
Anything else you want to say before you want to add a subvert before we go?
I want to give mad kudos to the medium who walked to the grave, found Sally.
Peter James.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll give you the book. You can read up on it a little more. But
Nice.
yeah, mad kudos, Peter James.
Down boy!
I'm not sure if he's in. I didn't really watch all the YouTube stuff, so I'm not sure if he's actually on there doing the grave finding. But it is in the book that he finds the grave.
Nice.
Like I said, there was just too much.
Yeah.
Like did the whole
What
episode,
happens.
did the side trail, and it's like I could
There's
do
still more.
Yeah, it's just one of those. But only certain things are allowed to be two-parters.
Well done, sir.
But yeah, appreciate that. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you like what you hear here, you can get the side trails early right along with the episode in our Patreon, patreon.com/monsterlowertour. Make sure to hit those happy fun buttons on whatever platform you're on before you go with the likes and subscribes and shares and ringing bells and ratings and reviews and blah, 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 blah. Give us a rating on Be Honest and, tear us apart if you want.
Yeah, demons do.
Love to hear
Every
bad
night.
news about myself. Makes me happy. I don't know what kind of psychology I'm trying to use there, but it'll work on somebody somehow, right?
Yeah.
And there we go. Now I'm crazy enough to end the side trail. Until the next one, to all our fellow paranerdalists out there, stay gold, Pony Boy. Monster Lore Tour Podcast. Can I get some ketchup on this Teddy Rex burger?
Looks like a mob head. What's going on here?
So this is how the teddy bears had their picnic.
Shut up!